everyone, I'm Jillian Evans and I'm a product marketing manager at Service Channel. I'm joined here today by David Medley, who's the director of facilities at Lemonade and Modern Market. Thanks for having us, David.
Thank you for having me, Jill. I appreciate being here.
Absolutely. Today we're going to talk about how Lemonade consistently delivers a modern customer experience across all of its locations and how facilities is crucial to that mission. David, why don't you start by introducing yourself and telling us a bit more about your role and what it is you do at Lemonade?
Great. Well, again, David Medley. I am the director of facilities for Modern Restaurant Concepts. Modern Restaurant Concepts owns two brands. One is Lemonade here in California. We have 20 locations. Modern Market Eatery is also owned by Modern Restaurant Concepts, which is approximately 28 locations from Arizona, Texas, and Colorado. My primary role is I consider myself to be the manager of all assets, buildings, facilities. I look at it as a max min problem. Try to maximize the useful life of our equipment as well as minimize our downtime, uh, make sure equipment reliability, so we give the greatest customer experience that we possibly can.
So, David, what's the future of Lemonade and where is it going? And what keeps customers coming back? Why do they love Lemonade?
Well, just look around. I mean, Lemonade is all about quality food, healthy food, and I believe that's what really gravitates our guests to us. And we're sitting in the restaurant that we call our Lemonade 2.0. And this is the future of Lemonade. We're going to be a franchise organization looking for franchise partners, and we just are committed to a good quality product for our guests.
So, can you give me some background on your career to date and how you got to Lemonade?
It's a great question. I started my career as an industrial engineer for United Parcel Service, and for some reason, then I migrated to hospital engineering. And for some reason, I was recruited by corporate 7-Eleven. I ended up in Dallas, Texas. The small convenience store seemed to enlighten me, and then ended up in the restaurant industry. And I've been doing this for about the last 13 years now. And I was approached by Modern Restaurant Concepts. They had just purchased Lemonade and they needed a facility manager. And I love the culture of the organization. It's much smaller than I'm used to, but the autonomy that you have as a support function really seemed to click with me.
Absolutely. So, you're a one person facilities team. What does it take to be effective with that lean of a model?
Well, it's definitely a challenge at times, but what we've done is a one team concept, and the ownership goes all the way to the general managers. And in order for them to help and assist, they have to be part of the process. So that's really the success of how this program works. Service Channel has definitely provided that opportunity for enhanced communication. I'm the person that sets up the contracts and service providers and make sure that we procure all of the right service providers in place. And then the general manager's role is basically to use what I call the cradle to grave concept of utilizing the work orders, take ownership of what they do every day. And if they run into issues beyond that, then they reach out to me.
So, David, we know that COVID has really impacted fast casual restaurants. What have you done as a brand to remain agile in response to that changing environment?
Well, it was very challenging, and I think really from the onset of COVID, what we really accomplished is really trying to understand federal, state, local regulations. It changed on a daily basis. What are the roles that we have to play? My first 2 weeks of COVID, I visit every location from Lemonade and Modern Restaurant Concepts to help and support the team with the social distancing, traffic patterns through the restaurant, make sure that our third party business started to increase. So what happened was you have guests standing in line waiting for their food after they've used the online order process to come pick it up, but you'd have third party delivery services come into the restaurant, which sometimes were a little bit intrusive for our guests coming in. So we had to manage those traffic patterns. Again, we would meet every day. Do we put condiments out? Do we leave condiments not out? We had to adjust staff. There was just so many things on a daily basis, and just trying to adapt daily almost for the first several months to really clearly understand what are we doing, because it was a new way of doing business. We had to do so much more with less, and really try to maintain our staffing as well. We have great employees and great team members that we couldn't use because we didn't have the business.
Yeah.
but we wanted to also try to keep them whole and make them whole. So when business did pick back up, we could bring them back.
So, what was the resultant impact on sales of all of that?
Jill, at first it was horrible.
Right.
We had so many things, so many dynamics that we had to work with. The operations team, I say we, as a support function to operations, I'm always there trying to make sure that whatever they need, I'm there for them. But sales were, they dropped significantly. But in the midst of learning and getting better about what we needed to do every day, doing more with less, we started to see our numbers grow. And there were some locations that literally ended up having record sales, and not just pre-COVID, but just record sales, which was amazing. And that hand that to the operations team because he just did an amazing job.
So, shifting gears a little bit, what challenges did you find when you arrived at the company? And as a result, what did you identify in terms of areas of improvement?
Well, the biggest challenges for the Lemonade concept was that they were not on any type of structured platform. And Service Channel provided that platform, and it seemed to make sense that we had the born in marriage between what was occurring at Modern Market and bringing Lemonade online to that platform. So the next step to that was there was a cultural shift as well because the two organizations and the two brands basically did things differently. So really bringing the Service Channel platform to Lemonade allowed them to really focus their attention on how work orders were going to be created and bring more structure and accountability to the process.
So, what were the areas of improvement that you thought had the biggest impact right out of the gate?
Right out of the gate, it was just really verifying the service providers that we have and validating the work that they're doing and really understanding how we can improve our business. The data behind the data collection, really clearly understanding the data behind the work that was being performed, and help increasing the accountability for that.
So, what I'm hearing is there's a bit of a challenge around visibility. So, my next question would be, how did you partner with operations to standardize those processes?
So the visibility is surrounding work order creation and really understanding that process. Operations is was key in the leadership role of creating the fact that we're going to make sure that every general manager helps and supports the process with their own ownership and owning their work orders from the inception till the time that it's invoiced was key and critical to the operation. Once we brought Service Channel online and made that integration, the process really of every manager owning the work orders that they created was just critical to that point.
How do you use data to manage your service provider relationships?
So, it gets back to our service providers themselves. I consider when a service provider walks through the door, that's probably our most expensive labor. So understanding exactly what the data points are that I review and look at are, what is our cost per call? What is the from a time that a work order is created until the time that it's closed? We like to have our financials in alignment. So if a work order is created today, that we can follow through the process and understand that it's going to be closed and invoiced in that same time period. So looking at all the aspects of, what is my cost per call? What is a cost per trade? There's so many pieces of detail in the analytics that we can get into to understand what is it costing us every day for a service provider to come in and do the work. The service providers are an extension of our business, and we do expect them to interact with our general managers. And I really encourage the service providers that when they walk in and they come to respond to a service call, they clearly communicate and their intentions, the schedule as far as what they need to do for that day, that it's not a surprise when they walk through the door. So with that process, they clearly understanding that our general manager is the customer. I'm not the customer. I'm the person that is truly just procuring a great service provider, what I believe to be a great service provider. And when they walk through the door, they are an extension of our business. And I really want them to be able to coach our team members as well because they really don't know all those aspects. And I'm just one person. I can't teach everybody, but I do expect that we have technicians that are coming in, they're professional, and they do interact with our team. Another piece of what I do is I take that and when I pull the data out, I have a quarterly meeting with my service providers. So we talk about all these things. We talk about open calls. We talk about NTEs that may have exceeded themselves and they went over NTEs. Sometimes that's important because I would rather have a technician call me or the service provider call me to let me know we're going to go $400 over an NTE, but that's okay. If you can fix it today, right now, right there, and it's a critical piece of equipment, let's get it done. Don't come back. Don't create a proposal for that. So we go through all of these things on a quarterly walkthrough to make sure that we clearly understand and go through the data. Do we have aging work orders that need to be addressed? Those type of things.
Sounds very thorough and systematic. So, how do you ensure that each location is living up to the brand standards?
So we've created two things. Our operations team has a quarterly brand standards audit that they perform, and they were doing this manually. I presented this with Service Channel as a question. Do they have the capabilities of doing this? Which is creating that audit process into the Service Channel network, which absolutely turned out wonderful. It went from a manual procedure to our team members being able to use their phone and go through the audit questions, which was amazing. It saved us time. We have a great way to couch all the information and log it all. So that was one. And then for me, from a facilities perspective, we've created what I call the annual site planning audit, which gives me an opportunity to analyze our assets, see annual and document annual conditions of the facility. What do we need? And this process is for planning purposes. I can plan our capital, I can plan our future expense budget. So it's really proved itself to be a valuable tool for us and be able to go back through and communicate in a reporting system to the senior leadership. What do we need to do next year? What is our 3-month plan, 6-month plan, and what do we need to do moving forward over the next year, even 2 years?
That's great. So, how does Service Channel help you get the most out of your budget?
Well, from an asset perspective, the place that we're weakest on is our asset management program, and nothing has been ever tagged. And using the QR code process, part of the site planning audit that we are using is tagging all of our critical equipment. This critical equipment is anything that's revenue generating, any non-redundant pieces of equipment. So we can track. Many times when you set up Service Channel, it's put in there as, it's a salad cooler or it's a Craftco bubbler or some kind of generic piece of equipment. Now with the QR coding process, we can literally tag the equipment and I have specifics on exactly what piece of equipment that was, not just a name. Sometimes we have two salad coolers. Well, which one was it that got the new compressor? So now we can create work orders accordingly and know exactly, be asset specific. The other benefit to that is that with that QR code, a general manager can create a work order using the code. And instead of being asked 3 or 4 questions, it goes right to what's the problem and has the specific asset associated with it, which is wonderful.
So, what advice do you have for any fast growing restaurant brands hoping to build a scalable and high performance facilities program?
Keep it simple. Just keep it simple. There's so much data that you can achieve from whatever it is that you're doing, but make it simple for your operations team to be able to create work orders, make a system that is just so achievable. But if you keep it simple and understand the data that you want to receive from the system, that is the best advice that I could give. Just make sure that you're achieving the data that you need so you can monitor and measure your business, but as simple as possible.
Absolutely. That's great advice. And I'm sure everyone here has benefited tremendously from all of your insights today. So, thank you so much for being here with us
Mhm.
and for hosting us in the space. And to everyone watching, thank you for being with us as well. And enjoy the rest of the summit.